Good morning, guys. I figured now's a good opportunity to walk you through yesterday's assignment, the static bank account. I saw a lot of different questions. There was a little bit of a typo in the answer key, but it shouldn't have really affected whether or not it marked your work complete. So I'll go through exactly how to answer these questions, how to code it, and I'll give you a few tips and tricks along the way to get you ready for today's quiz, which will be posted at about noon, so a few hours from now. All right, let's get started. Let's go ahead and read through the problem. And then we'll take a look at our classes and we'll see what we need to do. So we need to perform the following tasks in order. A, add a static instance field called num_accounts that tracks the number of accounts. Every time a bank account object is created, the number of accounts should increase. B, write a static method called getNumAccounts that returns the number of bank account objects that have been created. C, create a static instance field called accountNums that is an array list of integers. Whenever a bank account object is created, add the account number to the list of accountNums. D, create a static method called accountNums that returns the array list of account numbers as a string. And E, create a static method called removeAccount that accepts a bank account object as a parameter, then removes its account number from accountNums. Okay, so we got basically 5 tasks here, all having to do with static variables and methods, and we've been given a main class that has some things to test our code, and then also the bank account class itself, which is already partially constructed, and all we have to do is go through and add these various things. Now, it does say perform the following tasks in order, so let's go ahead and start with A. Add a static instance field. So to add a static instance field, it's just like adding a regular one. We're just going to add this word static. What static means is that this variable, literally this variable, is shared by all objects of this class. Not that they all get a copy, that's a regular instance field. Every object of this class gets a copy of account number, gets a copy of balance, gets a copy of name. But when we talk about num_accounts, we're saying that literally every object of this class has access to this particular variable. All right. Now, when we declare a static variable, we often, almost always, want to give it a value first. This is going to start at 0. When no objects have been created, doesn't even matter. This still has a value. It can still be referenced. The value is 0. All right. Every time a bank account object is created, the number of accounts should increase. So what do we do when we create bank account objects? What method is run? That would be the constructor right here, just below. So if we want to increase the value of num_accounts every time an object is created, we're just going to add num_accounts ++ into our constructor method. Every time this constructor runs, i.e. we're creating an object of the bank account class, we are going to increase the value of num_accounts. So if we create one object, the value is now 1. We create another one, now the value is 2. We create another one, the value is now 3. We do a loop that creates a bunch of them. It's going to track how many have actually been created. All right, so let's take a look over here, parts A and B. Let's go ahead and uncomment it and run it, see what happens. Oh no. All right, shouldn't have uncommented that part. Forgot to give it a data type. My bad. Private static int num_accounts. Okay, let's see. Oh no. All right, I got some errors here. Converted to int. Okay, cannot find symbol. Count one die. Cannot find symbol. Okay, yeah. It cannot find the symbol because, well, I actually haven't created that one yet. So let's create a new static method. This is part B. Write a static method called getNumAccounts that returns the number of bank account objects that have been created. So this is pretty straightforward. This is a getter method, but since it's a static getter method, we're just going to add that keyword static. Public static int getNumAccounts, just like that. All right, and we are going to return num_accounts, just like that. Okay, let's try that out. So it works just exactly the same as a regular getter method. The only difference is we're adding that keyword static to the method signature, the declaration, and we have to make sure that we are only dealing with static variables in this particular method. A static method has access to all the static variables, but none of the non-static variables. You can't mix them in a static method. You can mix them in a regular method. All the regular methods, like our constructor, for instance, the constructor, that's a non-static method. That's a regular method, but you can see we have access to the static variables. It works that way, but not the other way. Non-static methods can access all the variables. Static methods can only access static variables and other static methods. Okay, what? It doesn't like me? Return name? What? public int get name. I don't remember doing that. It's probably a string, honestly. Okay. Not sure how that happened. I don't even know if that matters. I don't even think we use get name later. Okay, so 222 it printed, and that's what it should print. It should print 2, should also print 2, should also print 2. Fantastic. We are on a roll for parts A and B. Let's go ahead and take a look at part C. Create a static instance field called account nums that is an array list of integers. Whenever a bank account object is created, add the account number to the list of account nums. So before we had this account number variable that we're sending through, and we have the instance field account number. Now it wants us to create another instance field, a static field that is going to track all of the account numbers of all of the bank account objects created. So that's another good use for a static object, or a static field. So private static, this time it's going to be an array list, integer. What was it called? Account nums. Yep, equals new, and then we have to, just like before, we have to actually initialize it. So we're just going to create an empty array list here. So this is the name of our static array list, account nums. And for our constructor method, what we want to do is whenever we create an object, we want to go ahead and add account nums.add our account number to that list of integers. Okay, let's go ahead and make sure we don't have any errors. Good so far. And let's go ahead and, parts C and D. Okay, we're going to have to do a little leap ahead here and do D before we can uncomment that code. D, create a static method called account nums that returns the array list of account numbers as a string. All right, so this is another static method, and this is going to be another getter method. So let's just go ahead and add it down here. Remember, it doesn't actually matter where you add these methods. The order of the different methods and the variables in the program is irrelevant in Java. You can put all the variables at the bottom or at the top or in the middle. The constructor can be at the bottom or in the middle or at the top. None of it actually matters. As long as you're using the proper curly brace syntax, as long as you're separating them with the curly braces. I should have thought of what the word I was going to use was before I started saying that sentence, but sometimes I don't. All right. Public, and this is a static method. And what's it called? It is called account nums, and this is going to return a string. So it's kind of like a toString method. Now we want it to print out all of the values that returns the array list of account numbers as a string. This is actually pretty simple because it tells you that it wants it in this format, like that, which is good. That's the automatic format that an array list is going to return in if you just call the toString method, just like that. So we can just do return account nums.toString. If you did a ton of code, if you created loops for the sake of perfecting that output, I apologize. It was really as simple as just calling .toString. Okay, let's uncomment parts C and D. And let's run it and see what we get. Okay, there we go. Yep, and that is what we should see. There was a bit of a typo here. I apologize for that. It should say 1991, which it does. It shouldn't affect, that was just a typo on my part when I was putting that in here, but not actually in the test. So the test should be correct regardless if that number was different. So just ignore what you see in the green here and listen to the test when you click run test. Okay. Part E, let's go. Create a static method called removeAccount that accepts a bank account object as a parameter, then removes its account number from account nums. Okay. This one gets a little bit more complicated. So we have all these things, yada, yada, yada. Let's go ahead and add our static method here. Public static. This is not going to return anything, so this is void. Remove account, and it accepts a bank account object as a parameter. So we'll say bank account, we'll just say B. Bank account B. And what we're going to do with bank account B is we want to remove its account number from account nums, and then we're also going to want to reduce the number of accounts overall. So this is basically two statements that we're going to do here. Now, there's a few ways to go about this, but the easiest way to do it is to simply do account nums dot remove which is our simple method for removing something from an array list. And we're going to do b dot get account number. And what that's going to do is it's going to get the account number of bank account B, and it's going to find that number in the array list, and then it's just going to remove it from there if it's there. If it's not there, then it's not going to remove it. And then you're going to do num accounts minus minus, just like that. Okay. Now, we can basically be guaranteed that this bank account is going to be in the array list, because if the object has been sent as a parameter, that means it must have been declared. And if it has been declared and initialized, that means that it is in the array list for num accounts, and it also has, in the account nums array list, and it has also incremented num accounts. So we know those things have happened if we have a bank account object that has been passed. All right, so there you go. It doesn't return any values. So let's go ahead and click run, make sure we don't have any errors. Seems good so far. Go ahead and uncomment. And here we go. Crap. What happened? Exception in threat main. Index out of bounds. Size 5. What is it talking about? What did I do? All right. Okay, so it made it through all of this. It printed 5. It didn't like. Okay, bank account dot remove account. So you notice when I do bank account dot remove account, I don't actually need to do a specific object to call it on, since every object of the bank account class has access to remove account. It is a static ability. Then I can just call it on bank account. I don't have to pick a specific object to call it on. Let's see what happens. Index out of bounds exception. Why does it have an index? Oh, I see. Actually, I made a mistake. Let's go back. All right. So my unfortunate interpretation of this, it's not going to work the way I intended for it to work. Sometimes you just make mistakes and you don't anticipate it. Because account number is an int, when I do account nums.remove, what it's going to do is it's going to try and remove the element at the index of the account number. Since the account numbers are these big numbers, it's trying to remove whatever's at the index of yada yada yada, big number. So that's why it's giving me the null pointer exception. So we're going to have to take a different approach here, a different tactic. Do some live adaptation here. We need to find the index of that particular account number. So let's create a new variable. So int num equals b.getAccount number. Okay, and let's go ahead and search through account nums for integer. Let's call it I. Oh no, that's not going to help us either. For int I equals 0. I is less than account nums dot size. So we're just going to traverse our array. And we're going to check to see what our index is. We're going to check to see what our index is. We're going to want to track that index as well. So int index, excuse me, equals 0. All right. If account nums dot get I, whoops, that's not the right number, dot I is equal to num. What that means is if the number at account nums at the index I of account nums is equal to our account number, then what we're going to do is we're going to store that value in I. Index equals I, just like that. All right. So let's think of another way to do this actually. All right, to confirm, I didn't want to look stupid on air. Too late for that. I had to confirm that the solution I was about to do was going to work. All right, so here we go. We're traversing account nums. We are going to check each value to see if it's equal to our num value here. I'm sure there's a better way to do it, but I feel awkward just being live with you guys right now. Account nums.get I equals num. So that's checking each value. If it finds that correct account number, it's going to set the value of index to the value that it finds. And then it's going to go ahead and remove that value down here. So we're just going to go ahead and have to change that value. Index right there. That's one way to do it. So account nums.remove index. Remember, index has the value of the index of this particular one here. Okay. And then num accounts minus minus, and let's go ahead and run it, see if it works. Yes, it does. All right, that was embarrassing. Just like I wrote this problem, I should know how to do it. Yeah, so that's the easiest way to do it. There are a couple other ways you could try. If you're still watching and you want to just see a couple different methods, let's take another look at this one. We can use our our index of. Yeah, why not? Let's use our index of. See if this works. Nope, that won't work. There we go. There we go. That worked the same way too. So just like a string, index of works the same way in array list. I don't know if this is actually going to be on the test, but it is one way to do it. So what I did here, I just kind of put everything in one line. I found the index of the account number of bank account B in the array list of account nums. And once I got that index, I went and called remove, the .remove method on account nums, and removing that index number. So it's basically, it's going to find it, and then it's instantly just going to take it away. Okay, just like that. All right, so there you have it. Those are a couple different ways to solve that last problem, a couple correct ways, one incorrect way. And that's it. If you have any other questions, just let me know. If you want to just tell me how dumb I look, just I'm going to pause the video to fix my own mistake. Just, let me know. Have that in the comments. All right, bye-bye.